We've been having problems with the batteries.
Okay, I just hit it.
She just said.
Okay.
the same thing.
All
Okay,
right, thank you.
you're welcome.
The batteries.
Okay, Jennifer and Danny
All
are
right,
present also.
we are recording now.
Yeah.
Yes, oh, this is Jennifer Nisnoff. Welcome, everybody. I call this meeting to order at 10:02 a.m.
Good morning.
Let's all stand for pledge of allegiance. Oh, we do. have a flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
United
States of America,
America,
to the republic
republic
for which it
for which it
stands,
stands, one nation,
under
under
God,
God,
with liberty,
indivisible,
justice,
with
justice
justice for
Okay,
all.
and
So-
let's do, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm
King.
just, so Jennifer, we do not have a quorum,
Correct.
so this is
Well-
an unofficial meeting.
Okay.
Dean Bob
We-
Geppert.
Hey, Bob.
Georgie, are you on the line?
I am.
Further second.
Okay, if we, due to extraordinary circumstances, let Dean come in this through Zoom, can they then vote and have an official meeting?
They cannot. It has to be physical quorum.
How come we could do that in the GSCDD with Bill Guy? And he got to vote.
That was truly extreme circumstances. I'm not sure on that. I,
We,
I,
we were also able to do that, Georgia, in our, okay, one person at a time, please. Okay, and Georgia, this is Jennifer. We were
Yes.
able to do that on April 24th. We had a motion to allow Mr. Groves to participate in the meeting remotely.
yes, I know.
But did you have a quorum physically?
Let's see here. Yeah, well, I guess so. We had 3 people.
I think that's the difference.
That's the difference. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to
Yeah.
bring that up because I wanted to understand.
And even with the board, there had to be a physical quorum, even when Mr. Guy wasn't able to be there.
Okay,
All right, thank you
All right,
for the
thank-
clarification.
yeah, it's always good
Okay.
to know what the rules are.
Okay, so can discuss anything that has been on the agenda and so forth, just can't vote on it.
Okay. Is there a way to vote on things between meetings, or can we call a special meeting in a couple of weeks to say, hey, these are the things we discussed 2 weeks ago, and let's vote on it now without a lot of discussion, because we've already had the discussion?
I think you can call a special meeting, and once again, an agenda would have to be created, have to be posted a week in advance.
Yes.
Yes.
Correct. Assuming you have a quorum,
Sure.
you can vote on it.
Okay, that's why I
Wait.
said 2 weeks, because I figured that would give us plenty of time to find time on the schedule. My concern is that we spend a lot of time between meetings,
Yeah,
and we're not getting as much done as I think we should be doing. No criticism, it's just the way that, it's working out. So it was just an idea to try to keep things moving. We have a couple of kind of important things on our agenda today. So I'd like to see if there's any way we can keep things moving. So, if it's okay, I don't know what I need to do to put another item right here to talk about this, but, Georgia, do you know if there's any, free time in about 2 weeks on the calendar where we might be able to have a special meeting to vote on what we're talking about today? And we can see if we can get a quorum?
Well, you would have to check with, is it Jen to see if the meeting room's available?
It would be, it'd be Raven. to
Raven?
See if they're available.
I mean, if you wanted to
Okay.
meet in the boardroom, I can check on that.
I don't know what the, Danny, I know you're here. Dean, are you gonna be here in a couple weeks or no?
no, I won't be back. I won't be back regularly until very late December, early January.
Okay, so I guess we need to check with Ted.
Because Don Bickle's no longer on the committee, right?
He's no longer on the board, on the committee.
It's
Um,
Danny, Ted, Dean, and me.
Yeah,
So-
I would want to get some more.
Oh, yeah.
You want to take?
Additional two people, but no. I have some gentlemen that I saw forward that have shown interest, and I will push it out to them.
Terrific, thank
Yes.
you. Okay, so we're not gonna have a quorum until December?
No, you could
Potentially.
have a quorum when Ted comes back.
When did, I'm sorry, when does Ted come back? Do you know?
July
July 8th? Okay.
might be sooner.
Yeah, I don't know if was this on your agenda to talk about reporting structures, Dean, and
No,
your options?
no.
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 Okay. Well, I'm gonna take it offline maybe with Georgia, maybe we can try to coordinate to see when we can get, and Jen, when we can get a room here, if need be, we'll see if we can get the boardroom and see if we can get something going after Ted gets back. Okay,
Yeah, the thing
Anyway.
is that if, if our committee were larger, it may
Mhm.
make it easier to get a quorum. We need to have a majority of however many comprise the committee.
Correct, yes.
Well, or if it was smaller, if it was a 3-person committee instead of 4, then 2 people being present could
Mhm.
constitute a quorum.
All right,
But that's,
don't know if you
it
heard-
puts a lot of work on 2 people.
yes, it does. All right, well, let's see if we can get something going after the 8th. I'll take that as an action item offline to work with Jen
I
and,
think your next meeting is tentatively scheduled July 31st.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we usually meet the last Monday, I think, of the month. Yeah, I'm just trying to see if we can keep things moving, because,
And I
We just-
spoke with Laura, confirmed everything we've already said. But you can queue everything up. You can't make anything official to the meeting. You
right,
can have all the discussions so that when that meeting does occur,
that,
let's
what-
through it.
that's what I'm hoping to be able to do for sometime shortly after the 8th, when Ted gets back.
And if we get a person or 2 more between now and the 13th, I think the 13th is the meeting of PPAC, that could approve more members to this group. It's- I think 13th is
Okay.
the-
So that's what Danny says, he knows a few
Second
people who might be able to
Thursday.
do that.
Which day are we looking?
I don't know, I'm gonna,
Would be the second Thursday of the month, would be the.
Oh, okay.
PPAC.
That's when we can't keep back meetings.
I don't know, I was gonna see if I could get a message to Ted via Georgia, since I can't send it.
I'll already get a message.
Anything?
Oh, you already sent
Yeah,
Ted? He's-
asking when he.
Well, isn't that nice?
He's my neighbor. And we run each other's airport all the time.
Okay, back to the agenda, roll call. So we just go around the room, this is Jennifer Nisanoff.
Jennifer Lewis with KWPMC.
Megan Lockery with Wiser.
Mark Thompson, Weiser.
Bob Gepper, GSCDD.
Danny Clement, people. Safety security.
Randy Middleton, PPAC.
Andrew Johnston, Gateway District.
And on the phone, we have, I mean, on the phone, on the
When you get-
video,
When do you return?
Dean Groves, Safety and Security.
July. Okay, thank you very much.
okay,
Okay,
and
safety
Georgia?
security. Needed them.
Yes,
All right,
I'm
thank you.
tuned in.
Okay, good.
Can-
That's
Can
Georgia
I just,
Johnson,
can I
who's
just
with the-
add something? If you did have recommendations for the safety and security meeting, they have to be approved at one of your meetings to go before the PPAC. So it could be for the August meeting of PPAC.
Well, I think that's why Jennifer is suggesting a special meeting where
Right.
we could have a quorum to make recommendations that could go to the next PPAC
Oh.
meeting.
Okay, before the
Right.
13th,
Yeah.
or I'd have to get it on the agenda
Ooh.
I'd have to get it actually on the agenda by July 6th.
So that would also necessitate the agenda, that they be on the agenda for the meeting 13th, 1 week in advance.
Yeah, July 6th. That's what she was just saying.
Okay, well,
Mr. Crawford will be back on July 3rd.
yes, Is there any,
There's a window there.
it's a short window. It's a short window. If we could get a meeting on the 5th.
There are gonna be some people on vacation.
I know, I'm a little worried about that.
We gotta look at the paid
Well,
people.
Let's
The
poll
retired folks.
right now.
Right.
Yeah, you'll be here, I'll be here on the 5th. Would you be able to text Ted to see if he's available on the 5th for a meeting?
He is.
He is fantastic.
It has to be in the morning, because I have 1 o'clock and a 2 o'clock.
Okay,
Let's see if this one's good.
okay, we're gonna see if we can't tee that up right now. Give us a moment, please. Thank you.
That date.
The 5th. What we're gonna do is just tee up today all the decisions, and then we'll come back on that date. Minimal discussion. Somehow we'll have to get Ted up to date offline. We'll
Yeah, what
figure out
day
how
of
to
the week
do
is
that.
it?
It is a Wednesday. Yeah. Yeah, 10 o'clock. He comes back on the 3rd, so. Tuesday is a holiday, so we're not gonna do it on the 4th.
No.
No. Well, I suspect people are gonna.
I'll be there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we have Wiser here. I'll be here, but you know, I may be otherwise occupied. While you're checking on that, so we can make some progress here. The next thing on our agenda is public comment. Any public comment that we'd like to start off with? Okay, none.
I
Oh,
have one
you do?
thing, and this may or
Fantastic.
may not have to do with security, safety, but, I've gotten, there's LED now that's been coming in quite frequently to our gate, and I do see, and I've heard from some residents that their outside lanais are completely lit up from 8:30 until 3:30 on a timer. Some people have actually gone home with it still lit up and the
Yeah.
timer still engaged. This guy's coming in more and more often. I'm just gonna let you know, there's gonna be lanais that are going to be lit up with lots of power and lots of lights across the ponds and
I
it
live
double
across one of 'em.
reflections.
Yeah, that would be
And-
the ACC
Okay,
committee,
well, I just want to bring that up for whoever may.
but that's considered inside their home, and we can't tell them what to do,
Gotcha.
unfortunately.
Gotcha.
And it's bright because I
It
have
is
one
bright.
across
I
my.
just see him coming in and
And
been
it-
in the last 2 months, he's been a lot.
Yeah, it's,
The LEDs all marked up on his vehicle and it looks very nice to some people, but it annoys others as well. So.
yeah,
Just something to throw out there.
it's a great security thing, I think. However, it is kind of light pollution in the middle of the night.
If it's a
so.
party situation,
That's
obviously
one thing.
Christmas and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
I understand
it's
that.
a little obnoxious.
Okay. Thank you.
I just, a couple of other things that.
Yeah, but that's, okay, so that's
Yeah.
considered inside. Okay, I haven't done
Fine,
anything
too.
about it. Yeah. Alrighty. Anything else? Okay, the next thing on our agenda is approval of minutes. Why don't we start with the April 24th minutes? Are there any comments? Corrections?
I move that we accept the minutes of the April 24th meeting as presented.
Do we have a second?
I second, Danny Clemens.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You
Aye.
can't, you
can't
can't
vote.
Oh, we
approve.
can't vote. I'm sorry.
Can't
I'm
approve.
sorry. I apologize. Okay, forget that. Strike that from the record. I don't know, you
So now
can't,
you
but
will have
whatever.
to do that next meeting.
Okay, so yes, let me make a note.
Revisit that, so.
All right,
Yeah, basically, this agenda will have to come back for the next meeting.
Exactly.
So
okay.
it's really, yeah.
You gave that to me to sign
I
and
know.
Well,
not your
you know,
fault.
it-
I know,
it gets
I'm just
talked
saying.
about. But
Being
you
a
know, as
lemon
far as
here.
any action items have to get delayed, and that's just
Okay,
the way it is.
all right, so can we say that, we can have the motion, but we can't vote? Can we do
Yeah,
the
the
motion?
motion's made and seconded. We'll wait for the vote.
Okay, terrific. All right, then, the next one is the April 19th minutes. Any comment, corrections, whatever, suggestions? Do I hear a motion to accept?
Make a motion
So-
to accept the April 19th subcommittee.
And I'll second it.
Yes.
Okay, and we will hold that for our next meeting, the actual vote. All right. Do we have a financial report? Is that from you or shoot? I always look at you for
Mm.
money. Nope.
And then Laura does that. for us.
You won't start getting those until October the 1st, because that,
Oh, for the next,
it'll be the next fiscal
Okay.
year. I'm confident there's no issues right now,
No,
but we're still in transition. But from the October 1st forward, we'll have that every month.
okay.
Is that gonna come in the form of some kind of spreadsheet?
Yep, from Laura.
And last time at PPAC, it started out the financial, and it was 100 invoices. Running across the screen, it made absolutely no,
That's the old
Sent to
system.
us.
Yeah, that's the old system. That was the castle and KW system, and that was what was in place for L&M. And what's streamlined in the future will be 4 or 5 categories that we have ascribed to this,
right.
and then she'll tell you where you are in the status. Exactly right.
I give Laura like the 4 or 5 categories every month when I send the reimbursement. So then she breaks it down from there.
All right. Sorry, technical.
Can we see that in
difficulties there.
advance to review?
As soon as she does it,
Oh, so she does.
She,
Yeah, it goes into the agenda.
you have to go online and it'll be part of the package.
Oh, I can't even look at,
You'll find it to be quite an
Alright.
improvement at the pass. We had to wait to be in the meeting, surprised.
what's the next thing that we have?
okay, the next thing we have is to review the Tetra Tech task authorization for bike lane improvement evaluation. And since I can't seem to get into my file because the internet is giving me grief, I'm not sure who's got the lead on this. I
That was the one that's
apologize.
so expensive, right?
yeah, Dean,
Yeah, I'll speak to it.
Okay, thank you.
I'll speak to it also, but why don't you?
Okay, so
tell us what-
at a recent, I guess I'll put it that way, not the last, at a recent meeting of PPAC, at probably 2 meetings ago, I believe that the board had decided that it wanted to move forward with reestablishing bike lanes along Pelican Preserve Boulevard, Cypress Grove Drive, and Prado Boulevard, between the 2 roundabouts. And the district requested a task authorization proposal, if you will, a fee proposal, scope and fee from the district's engineer, Tetra Tech. Tetra Tech came back with its proposal, and it had several tasks within it, and that was discussed at the most recent PPAC meeting. And during that PPAC meeting, it was determined that the fee was kind of substantial for what seemed to be a pretty straightforward task. And Tetra Tech actually said during that meeting something to the effect that they also thought that the scope should be broken out into a couple of steps or a couple of phases, with the first phase being field inspection and evaluation. So they needed to figure out what exists on the ground before they put in a fee proposal for any engineering work associated with reestablishing bike lanes within Pelican Preserve. So the fee that he had included, Tetra Tech had included for that field inspection and evaluation, was modified after that meeting, and it has come back, I think, as of June 8th for approval, I think, of the board. But they have forwarded it to us as the Safety Security Subcommittee to express comment on this task authorization request before PPAC acts upon it. So
Did they come up with a new dollar number?
the new
Dean?
dollar number is $6,500. The old dollar amount was about, I'm recalling from memory, was about $4,000. Maybe it was a little more than that. So nothing changed in between the two, the two scopes other than the fee. So the fee went up. And personally, I think that we're pretty limited in terms of what can be done. So the scope says that the district desires to bring the signage and pavement markings for the 4-foot bike lane up to compliance with regulatory standards, namely the manual on uniform traffic control devices and any City of Fort Myers design criteria. So it strikes me that we're pretty limited in terms of what can be done within the footprint of our existing boulevards. We have 2 lanes in each direction and a designated shoulder that initially was identified as a bike lane, and at some point the bike markings had to be removed. To me, the 4-foot shoulder lane is not going to get any wider than it is today. Because to do that would either make the travel lanes narrower or would require us to expand the footprint of the roadway, widen the roadway to create a wider bike lane. So my question becomes to Tetra Tech, what is the minimum bike lane criteria for width? And when that question was asked at that meeting recently, Chelsea said 3 feet. I believe it's 4 feet, but whether it's 3 or 4, it's not going to get larger than 4 feet. So to me, the level of effort that Tetra Tech is going to expend to go through the community, take up to 15 tape measurements of the 4-foot bike lane. It's pretty significant, pretty high level of effort to take 15 measurements and also to identify any signage for bike lanes that exists. I just think they're blowing this way out of proportion, and my recommendation would be to send them back to the drawing boards and cut their fee in half.
You mean, okay, you mean the 6,500 to be cut in half?
Yeah. I
Okay,
mean, they have proposed, Randy, they have proposed 49 hours of effort, 32 hours for data collection, 32 hours, 4 person days to go through Pelican Preserve and measure 15 locations where the width of the designated shoulder lane is determined. It's pretty close to
They also
4
have a
feet
blanket
wherever you go.
let me get you a little up to speed on a couple of things.
Thank you.
First of all, Andrew Johnson, who is here with us, and I were out along the road on Cypress, and we had the discussion regarding this. We measured that lane, and it was exactly 4 feet from the curb to the center line. And you measured each of the passenger lanes, and they were about 11 feet.
Yeah.
I
22
think.
feet.
And 10 feet is the standard. And your partner went online and found the requirement for a bike lane to be 4 feet.
Thank you.
And I had been trying to do that, and I got some chat bot that can give me all kinds of general stuff, but nothing
Now,
specific.
just to be clear, that has not been verified. This is Andrew Johnson. It
Okay.
has not been verified, but that is like on a basic, I think it was some sort of a traffic, a DOT spec that we found the 4 feet. But I have not done any research in terms of verifying that, but it seems reasonable that 4 feet would be the measurement.
Now, the other thing is, for the benefit of the rest of the people at the meeting here. This task authorization happened very quickly. I kind of felt like it was being, a message was being sent to us that we had to use Tetra Tech for this because we'd had utilized Florida engineering, transportation engineering, on some other projects. And they seemed to quote what Dean asked for. The quote that was put to us for this task authorization at the PPAC meeting was $48,000. The month before that, we'd gotten a 50-page report on the conditions of all the roads by Tetra Tech that we spent tens of thousands of dollars for. I was just blown away by this and didn't really know how to respond. It seemed to me they ought to be able to cut and paste enough information to provide us the simple request that we're making for this. But having said that, they go from 48,000 to maybe 6,500 or 8,500. But they do this to us routinely. And the one thing that it did immediately impact was that the request to get the painting done on our stripes was tabled because we didn't know if we could paint that outside lane and then later have a problem if we put bike icons on. So I question whether you want to, proceed with Tetra Tech at all.
Have we talked to, this is Jen with KW, have we talked to the pavement companies? I mean, they work with this type of permitting all the time. I would think they'd be able to give us a professional opinion on what's allowed and what's not. I'm just throwing it out
I
there.
know we've had some conversations with transportation engineer for Fort Myers, city of Fort Myers. And we know that we need to have an engineering drawing of some kind.
Oh.
And then to get a permit, issued. Subsequently, then we would get a quote to paint based on the drawing. And I'm sure there are certain specifications about where they need to be placed before, and after inlets of other roads, things like that. I guess, just from casual observation when I look at these.
Randy, this is Bob D. Historically, district default engineer is Tetra Tech. I assume we will operate just like Ponds has, and Ponds was under no responsibility to use Tetra Tech. Florida Transportation Engineer has built up a relationship with members of this group. And if you get a quote from them, you compare it to the quote from Tetra Tech and pick the one you like. You will be supported, I'm sure, by PPAC and by the board. When you don't have anybody else to go to, Tetra Tech is a good go-to person.
I have no personal animosity to Tetra Tech, except
No, I understand.
When you asked for a lighting study on Cypress and Pelican Preserve, they come back with a recommendation that's $62,000. We collectively thought that was overkill.
Yep,
And we made a specific choice for a lighting that we hope would not shine in the back lanais of people on a villa.
And that's a great example,
But
because you didn't have to do it.
we asked Tetra Tech about, well, what if we did this? What if we did that? And they come back with, well, we stand by our recommendations. In other words, they completed the job that you asked them to do. They weren't going to help us.
Well,
That was the impression we got.
and they didn't do it because I asked them to do it, but this came out of PPAC and board as the need. There was a need for a study. So they were requested to do the study. However, they also qualified at the end and said, because this is an interior neighborhood, that the illumination that would be required on a busy street could be different. So they supported what this group wanted to do, cut the price way down.
But they didn't cooperate. They didn't give us any kind of help after the fact. We got no drawing, no recommendation about where to put the light or anything like that. It
Okay.
was end of discussion. And subsequently, we've got this issue on Benito, and they did the original thing to put for the rumble strips, and subsequently, we are stuck, and it's not, that has never been closed.
Okay, the rumble strip.
So
issue
that's
is
my-
totally separate.
That's my issue with Tetra Tech.
I don't really care why this group doesn't want to use Tetra Tech. I'm supporting you and saying you don't have to. Leave it at that.
Thank you, Bob.
You do not have to use them if you don't want to. And if you would reach out, is the Florida Transportation Engineers, is that who the group's got? Ask
Yes.
them to give us a quote for this bike lane. And then in the meeting you have on July 5th, just pick the one you want. There's no obligation to use Tetra Tech. There is an obligation to get a study. And whether in our, the initial thing with the lighting, I didn't ask for drawings because we were only talking about putting it one place at that time.
Yeah, I just use it as an example.
Oh, I know.
After the fact, when we want to make some changes, they wouldn't listen to
Okay.
us. They wouldn't help, they wouldn't cooperate. So it was kind of, you're on your own,
Yep, and that's exactly why I go to.
because they done their job.
Yeah, they did what they were asked.
Did what they were asked to. Now subsequently, this task authorization got put to them immediately, and they come back with a $48,000.
And we're not, we
We didn't
didn't,
even know how to respond.
I completely agree. So we're not gonna do it.
Exactly, and then it kicked the can down the road on another project that we probably would have been able to approve and gotten done.
Dean,
In terms of.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you one bit. It's been frustrating.
hey, Dean, this is Jennifer. What's a reasonable turnaround for FTE to go out and do a study like this for us? To see how long it might take to do, what the T&C would be. Do you think we could
Well-
even get that done by the 6th? I mean, that's not much time.
That's not much time, and I don't know,
I can't do the
other than,
6th.
other than
It's from
holding
7 to
up,
6.
the refreshing of the roadway pavement markings, which at this point, we can do that in the fall. It would be great to be done before the high season starts. There's time to do it. There's not a rush, in my opinion, to get this question answered. But, so July 6th, in time for a PPAC meeting, all of that can go out another month, as far as I'm concerned. It's not on a critical path. FTE would likely need some time to work into their schedule to get somebody out there.
Right.
They're not sitting around waiting for the phone to ring.
Sure.
But they do, so they are responsive. So if we give them an opportunity, I think, and a date, would like to get an answer from you in 2 or 3 weeks. I think that they could respond to that.
Well-
I need to just clarify the comment for you, Randy, and others. Tetra Tech's change in their fee for this task authorization from 48,000 down to 6,500. They haven't given up on the rest of that scope and fee yet. They're just holding off bringing those additional dollars forward. So they're looking to evaluate what's the existing condition to determine if the 4-foot lanes are sufficient or not. Once that's determined, then they were going to spend another $45,000 or so in doing some work to prepare some drawings and a permit application to the city. So there's more to be done after this effort is concerned.
This is Danny. I'm looking at a document from the city of Fort Myers, guidelines for bikeway. They call them bikeway designs. The absolute minimum width is 4 feet. Recommended is 6. But the absolute minimum in the city of Fort Myers is 4 feet.
That's what I thought, Danny. Thank you. That was my recollection as well. Thank you.
And remember that's surface streets out in the community, like, Colonial Boulevard and Winkler and roads like that, not an internal community, but at least we meet the minimum in the community.
Yeah,
Speed
we
limit
need
has
the
to be
minimum.
above
And-
25.
And the design criteria changes over time. It's gotten larger. They are adding now what's called buffered lanes, so there, you may see wider areas with cross-hatched lines to
Mhm.
give the bicyclists a little more elbow room, I guess. But it doesn't give them much more safety, but it gives them a little more elbow room to shy away from the speeding vehicles that are driving by them. So it's my only point was I could not imagine us widening the 4-foot lane to anything more. And
You're
so
correct.
if that's the case, I could make a decision in about 20 minutes that says 4-foot lanes is what you have out there, and that meets the minimum. And save the community $6,500. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Well, I completely support. If you are comfortable reaching out to Florida Transportation and staging what you ask them to do. The first is to do the minimum width analysis, whatever that's called.
Yeah.
We've already got all of the bike lanes in the community on all the roads we wanted. They're out there now. Not designated, but they're there. The stripes are there. And then whatever the next steps are for the permitting process and the drawings and all that, get a ballpark number from Florida Transportation. And then this group can compare the Florida numbers to the Tetra Tech numbers, and you can pick who you want to do the job and get it done.
Great.
And then
Thanks.
PPAC, I'm sure, is going to support you.
Well,
Thank
I
you.
would expect they would, as long as they gotta make a value judgment about how much you want to expend for putting bikes icons on the road. I
Mhm.
mean,
Yeah, Thursday.
we have to be good stewards of the money that we're expending here. If you look at 20 years of historical usage and you do casual observations, bicycles are immediately going to that lane. They just.
Common sense.
And
Yeah.
most of the time, I would say that golf carts are going into a passenger lane. But we're just kind of codifying it or,
Right.
because we got some new golf cart regulations from the board of directors. And they're deliberately vague in some of it, in my opinion. But,
Well, in all honesty, it got done. I mean, they really haven't had a chance to.
But, they say, golf carts, are prohibited from using the sidewalks. But can go wherever otherwise they're approved. Well, that
wasn't discussed with this committee, which is.
It was not.
arbitrary, so
but
it's.
the point being, if you can do this at a reasonable, cost, then we,
Right.
I think by all means, we should go forward and do it. Because it just
Right.
makes sense. It's time to do that.
And Danny, again, that
But
was,
if it's gonna be $20,000 to put them on there, I got out of time trying to.
Yeah.
so if it's just stenciling some Chevron,
Yes,
stenciling Chevron, that should be fairly.
Exactly. I mean, it's,
But the district wanted out of,
No, I
and
understand.
they dumped that on me without a whole lot of,
we're starting to see some more of that.
Yes.
We asked district to approve this, and this brought up, well, we're not gonna have anything more to do with, golf cart regulations. We asked for help in looking at post orders, and now they've decided they don't want to be involved in the safety or in the wiser security contract. They want that to go to community association.
And we're not gonna be able to
So,
support, we're not gonna be able to
I thought that was-
support that in our budget.
well, it was just announced by Laura at the last meeting.
no, it wasn't announced, it was
Yeah, it
proposed,
was.
it was a proposal. Are we talking about paying the monies?
No, they want to get out of it. They
I'm gonna
want
do a little
contract
gatekeeping for a
To be
second,
with the
if that's
community
okay.
association and not with.
But that hasn't been accepted, that's only a proposal.
I know it's a
Yeah.
proposal, but this is the kind of a disturbing trend that
Well,
I see happening.
they made a proposal, and that's probably gonna be rejected, it's gonna be rejected by the community association
I
for
would
sure.
imagine we can't
Yeah.
support that in our budget.
And then it falls back that the post orders still fall within this group. This is the group that's gonna be made in cooperation, of course, with them. But that did come out of the blue, that we're just gonna get totally out of it. But it's probably gonna be rejected. 'Cause
Okay. Anything else on this particular agenda
who-
item?
Who's gonna talk to Florida Transportation, see if,
I think Dean is.
Dean, you got that one?
I got it.
Thank you.
I'll just, this is Andrew from Gateway. Just one comment, when you're speaking, please try and say your
Announce
name.
yourself.
Yeah, announce yourself. It'll help a lot with our minutes. So if you could do that.
Thank you
that'd
for
be
the
great.
reminder.
You're too polite.
Okay,
Th-
anything
this
else
is-
on this particular? Yep.
This
Dean?
is Dean. And Andrew, would you like to join in on a conversation with Florida Transportation with me?
Sure.
Yeah, okay. I will set that up. Thank you.
Thank you. And Danny, did you have something you want to say? Okay. Okay, no problem. Okay, next thing is Cypress Grove at Prado signage and pavement marking plans. And I actually printed that one out.
Is that the roundabout?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Oh,
Okay. Who's got the lead on this one?
I guess I do.
Okay.
This is Dean. So about a month ago, Florida Transportation submitted its drawings to the district to review, and district submitted some comments, but they also submitted the drawings to Tetra Tech for review, and their design engineer who does roundabout design had some suggestions. This current version is modified, has been modified from what FTE had originally submitted somewhat to incorporate what was appropriate, what they felt was appropriate, while maintaining the overall design concept that FTE had come up with. So this version is a little different than what had been submitted over a month ago, and has now been submitted by FTE under Chelsea's signature to the city for permitting. What it entails is it defines the two-lane approach into the roundabout from Cypress Grove Drive, kind of splits it up so that the right-hand lane coming into the roundabout is exclusively directed towards Carina Drive, and the left-hand lane goes into the roundabout for circulation through the roundabout. And it does a similar thing when you're coming from Prado Drive into the roundabout. The right-hand lane exclusively to Cypress Grove Drive, the left-hand lane into the roundabout for circulation to the other roadways. It adds some pavement markings around the middle of the roundabout that looks, you can kind of see a little bit of an oblong circular area that with gore lines extending out from the circle, the center circle, to allow for a 14-foot wide travel lane through the roundabout. It also includes a crosswalk, a new crosswalk on Cypress Grove Drive from one side to the median, and then from the median to the other side to address some pedestrian crossing needs that have been identified over the last couple of years. It's got some other signage that's standard signage for roundabouts, yield signs, pedestrian crossing signs, that sort of thing. What else? Oh, and it added a 15-mile-an-hour speed limit sign entering Casella Way, which was a request from the community. There's no sign there at the present time. So 15 miles an hour going into Casella Way, because there's no signage on Casella Way anywhere about the speed limits. And that's about all. So as I said, this has been reviewed by the district. Chelsea signed off so that it could be submitted to the city for permitting, and it's with the city at the present time. Once they get a permit, once they get approval, then the district will go out for bids for this modification, and the successful contractor will actually obtain the permit from the city and should be able to move forward. Hopefully, this is something that could be done this fall.
Dean, this is Danny. I got a question on the crosswalk.
Yes.
I'm looking at this the schematic, the Cypress Grove pedestrian crosswalk. Is that next to or in the vicinity of the golf cart crossing, or is it gonna be one and the same?
There's no golf cart crossing in this area.
Actually, there is. And at Cypress Grove leading to Carina?
Mm-mm.
No, there's no crosswalk here. There's no golf cart crossing.
You're thinking of,
It goes to Pistoia.
yeah,
Prado.
you're thinking of a different
Oh, I'm
circle.
thinking okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Different.
I got roundabouts in my mind.
Yeah, right, understood. It
But
does
there
get
was-
confusing, but there's no golf cart crossings in this
I'm
area.
not far enough away that,
Dean, did they,
I don't think that's
there
a
was
problem.
a change in the location of one crosswalk because of existing palm trees in the median or?
Well, there
Something
was a
wasn't-
question, Randy, about the location relative to a palm tree in the area, and it was verified that the location is appropriate. The tree is not affected by the crosswalk. The aerial drawings oftentimes are kind of oblique, and it's difficult to tell where the base of the tree is versus the top of the tree, because they're not directly vertical looking down on the drawings, but the location of this crosswalk is not impacted by the base of the tree. Any other questions? You still there, or did I lose the connection?
You're still there.
Okay, thanks, George.
I don't know if
Stop.
anybody else is.
I was starting to wonder if I was talking to myself.
They may have lost the connection there.
Yeah, they may have. Yeah, Andy's dropped off.
Let me message Andrew.
Randy, are you external? You're not physically at the meeting, is that right?
Correct. I'm
Okay,
in the office.
Okay, thank you. Maybe we'll just wait a little bit. So for whomever can still hear, and for the recording, this drawing will have been sealed by an engineer, a professional engineer, Oliver Rodriguez. And this is one of those types of studies or drawings that needs to be done for the permits that the city issues.
Got it. So we're gonna do, with this as our template, is Florida Transportation Engineering now gonna go to the Prado Pistoia? Is that the intent?
No.
And do something similar? Oh,
No.
no. Okay, this is just a standalone, forget everybody else. Okay,
Primarily because this intersection has been an area of concern. It narrows down, you can't have two cars drive around it at the same time. We've
Correct.
had probably 5 different accidents.
Really?
People go around and you run into a light pole.
And we haven't had a problem at Prado with that?
Not a problem, no.
Okay, good.
At the other end, Bob, the other end, the other roundabout is actually a similar design as what is proposed here now. There may be some differences, but it essentially peels the right-hand lane on the 2-lane approaches, peels it off and goes to the right into Pistoia. And the left-hand lane goes into the circle.
Yeah,
And
there
that's
just
what,
isn't as much signage and stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm comfortable. I know what we're doing at Casella. Sounds like a good plan and and it's moving. Praise the Lord, got one moving.
I thought Florida Transportation and Engineering, I thought did a really good job of recommendations and so forth. Dean, I'm sure, agrees with that, and everybody EPAC voted unanimously to accept that and move forward with it.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else on this item?
Andrew, is this yours to follow
On which,
with the city on the permits?
I
and the
can,
subsequent
yeah,
Contracts?
I can, when the permits,
Somebody at the district's got to say this is mine. I'm asking if that's you.
yes, I can do that.
Okay.
Right, the next one is the agreement for traffic control with the City of Fort Myers Police Department and Pelican Preserve.
All right, this is Danny, currently in progress. They've been monitoring the traffic in the community. They've issued several summonses and quite a few warnings. I'm in direct contact with the officer, not only police department, but the officer on patrol. He has my email and phone number, and we communicate. But I do need why is it, I need copies of those documents that they send you.
Okay.
I'm not getting, I don't know where you put them. I've gone there to get them. They're not there. What do you do with them when you get them from the officer?
They should be stored up there. I gotta take a look. Do we have an actual binder for it?
Well, the binder only had June 13th. The other 3 are missing.
Sometimes they're saying they don't even stop.
Well,
by.
they don't, but those ones they should come up with if they did document, yeah.
According to Officer Gruber, he said the officer said they're turning them in. So I'll coordinate with Gruber,
Okay,
the coordinator. I need
That's-
from your end
will do.
to have them available for me,
You
so
know,
I can put them in my spreadsheet.
you got it.
And I assume
I'll-
paper copies.
Yeah,
They send me a screenshot. I don't know what you're getting. You should be getting a paper copy because I gave them.
they give us a paper copy, yep, and they should be copying it, but I'm gonna,
You can locate them and I'll stop by later on and see if we can have.
hopefully, yes.
If not, I'll call the officer in and.
Are you
From
getting,
now on, that will be on me, so.
And
I'm gonna
state,
get on that.
just for the record, state your name.
Mark Thompson,
Okay.
Wiser.
Thank you.
Sorry.
yeah, this is Bob Gepper. Are you getting the cooperation level from the city of Fort Myers that they're coming as often and as frequently as you want?
Yes,
So that's been resolved.
that's been
Fort
resolved.
Myers is now.
I'm in direct contact with the office, with the coordinator.
Okay, thank you. Good news.
I'm actually looking to increase it if we have the funding to see it when it come up more often, but that we can discuss at a future meeting, depending on the activity that they're seeing. I want to check the areas that they're actually giving the violations at. One comment from the officer was, if he's sitting on the big intersection, he's too visible. So, well, do what you gotta do. And you can't, unless come in with an unmarked car as an option, which I'm discussing that with the assistant chief, possibly to assign an unmarked car once in a while. And I don't want to beat up the residents here, but there's enough issues going on that we need to, something like that.
This is Bob again. There are similar issues in Gateway. Lee County is the enforcement arm that they're using. And Gateway is strongly discouraging warnings. They want teeth. They want summonses to get people to it. So that'll be a decision for you guys to make if you want to follow a similar path and encourage, actual citations and not warnings.
And I've gotten feedback from other residents that they're laughing about the warnings. It's a big joke to them, not knowing that if they get stopped again, that warning is in the law enforcement system. So you can laugh today, but you get stopped tomorrow, you've already been warned. So that $165 fine is now over 200. So, Like I said, I'm in direct contact, this is Danny again, I'm in direct contact with Officer Gruber, but he's very, the officers, they want to do the work. They want the overtime, basically.
Great.
Well, they welcome it. And I've also expressed to them also, if your officers do not want it, tell me now, and I'll go a different direction. So we understand each other.
Did you have something, Mark?
Um.
Oh, okay,
It becomes a me.
okay,
I'm sorry.
okay.
I
think there was also some-
I have
Oh,
a
sorry.
question when you get a chance. If somebody else's goes first, that's fine.
I think there was also something in the agenda, and again, my technology is failing me. But somebody had pulled an original agreement from like 2013 or something and included it in the agenda.
That was me.
Okay, was that what you were gonna bring up?
Yes, yeah, this is Dean.
Okay,
This is Dean. So the agenda item speaks about traffic enforcement, but it also includes the agreement. And the agreement that was adopted is outdated, and it needs to be expanded to include the additional roadways that are now district assets beyond the intersection of Cypress Grove Drive and Pelican Preserve Boulevard. So the agreement is, like, as I said, is outdated, and almost all of the newer portions of Pelican Preserve are not included in the agreement. So that needs to be addressed.
Okay, this is Danny again. Okay, in my conversations with Officer Gruber, they have the locations. I've actually identified them independently as where the problem areas, but it's not part of the agreement. I will revisit that, incorporate it into an agreement, and have it brought up for a conversation and acceptance for voting.
This is Dean again. It may need to have, it probably needs to have the district and district council blessing, Danny, but thank you for taking the first step here.
Okay, this is Randy Bottleson. I believe within the last year, there was a resolution that took some street in the Palazzo neighborhood and got it transferred to Gateway.
That is
It
correct.
took a long time to get that
Mhm.
accomplished, but is
So
that
that-
the newest, is that the newest
Ten-
part?
That's part of our footprint.
Okay.
All the way to the roundabout at Plaza. But not the parking lots and the sides, just the
Yeah,
main,
but there's
main bulk.
some street there. I don't know how much is included,
Right.
but.
okay, is that good, Danny?
Yes. I'll
Okay,
follow up.
okay.
This is Danny.
Well, just because I figured if we can include that, I think right now it's just Amiata that's not included. Is that correct?
Is that serving the Sienna development?
Yes.
So Aviano is not included. Veneto, going
Yeah, the
to
whole
the
town center.
golf clubhouse, and Veneto from Vicenza going into the town center are also not included.
Okay, the reason I just asked is if I recall the picture, and it was actually in there like 2 times or something, the town center was excluded, so we don't have to make any changes. So it's really just the new folks.
Cypress Grove.
Look like what was missing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Right.
but then
I just thought
again,
it would be helpful.
all of Prado, all of Pistoia,
Right.
all of Carina, and all of these other
Margarita,
areas, they
yeah.
didn't exist at the time that agreement was established.
right. Okay,
Yeah, but to Randy's point, Palazzo did, but we
Yeah.
changed that.
Right.
Got to make sure that doesn't fall.
Yeah, they
Mhm.
included him too.
right.
This is Danny again. One more. Dean, can you send me a copy of that last agreement?
Sure.
It-
It should be in the agenda, but I will
Yeah.
track it down also.
I'll find it, okay.
Yeah, if you look at the long one.
It was section F.
Um,
Continued discussion of.
I think it actually was C, 7C.
Yeah,
We
it's
did
in
put
the,
that
it's in
one
the
thing.
discussion,
Put out of order.
items for
Okay.
discussion.
Okay, anything else on traffic control in general? Either the agreement or current status? Okay. And we're going to move on to member items and reports. The first one is moving the budget management responsibility from KW to the district. And this was brought up by PPAC. Well, I don't know who started it. My first learning was when it was discussed by PPAC. And there are actually 3 organizations, Pelican Preserve, that have budget coming from the CDD. There's the ponds, the landscaping, and safety and security. And the first 2 have already been transferred. So KW is no longer responsible for managing the budget. That's all over in the GSCDD. The last one with that we need to talk about is safety and security. So there've been some discussions recently about what that would take and whether it would be possible or not. I think we're at the point where we need to talk about it within this group and maybe do a little more investigation. Jennifer's done a great job in outlining everything that they do on behalf of safety and security from a budget management perspective. And sort of even said, okay, this is something that goes to GSCDD, here's what Wiser would do, et cetera, et cetera. And what we need to understand is not only who's going to do what, but also what the implication would be to our committee, if there would be any. In the past, Castle and now KW had done quite a few things that maybe weren't exactly in the agreement, but they were on site and it was easier for them to do. So we need to also work through that because that activity might actually end up over at Wiser. The recommendation that we pretty much had coming out of our meeting of a little while ago is that we probably want a 4-way discussion between our committee, KW, Wiser, and the district to go through the document that Jennifer put together and say, okay, the document is complete. This is what's going to have to move to this group. This is what's going to move to that group. What kind of documentation do we have to put together? I think we were of one mind that we're not talking about huge reams of paper, 1-pagers if possible, with simple charts to describe, who's going to be doing what. I don't know what's required of the district in terms of final documentation, but that's how we were going to do it, or at least we were proposing to do it, just so that people would understand the implications. And we think that that's the next step. At least that's our proposal for the next step. I don't know if there are any suggestions for improvement upon that.
This is Bob. Whatever items that you would like to discuss or need to understand better, that conversation should be held with Laura Leroy and obviously Jen and whoever your financial person is. Jen might be you, whoever this group designates as the point person. It'll just flow.
Right.
But all of the bills that come in that are GSCDD responsible for reimbursement will now be generated. Disbursement check will come from the district.
Right.
And they don't pay anything until you tell them that that's what you wanted and you're happy with it. That's how Ponds has done it, and then they pay the bill.
Right. The only other addition we would like is we would like to have Wiser at the table as well,
No problem.
because,
So this, Randy Bottleson. So the budget that Bob showed you and Dean was brought to PPAC last meeting, was voted on and approved.
okay,
And where that budget came from.
I did
Yeah.
not vote for it because you hadn't had a chance to discuss it at a meeting. But motion got pushed forward and got done. So now that's kind of already done. You have to decide whether you're going to accept responsibility for all the issues that they put in that.
That's right.
Including
That was
security,
great.
including pressure washing the sidewalks, including roads, and a whole bunch of other big
okay.
items.
And that's the
This
same
budget
budget,
could be $700,000.
It is 7.
okay, and that's the same budget that's in this package. So we have the,
Yeah, where the
Okay.
budget came, this is Bob again, where the budget came. We didn't pull an apple from the tree. It was this historical perspective of what we have been paying when KW managed it and when
Right.
Castle managed, going back about 4 years and just bringing the numbers forward. And Randy's absolutely correct. It would have been far better had it started here. But because of the time constraints with the budget and our inability, quite honestly, to have meetings and make pass motions, demanded that we had to have a high water mark. And that's what the 790 sub is high water mark. Now, the devil's in the details. As this group starts to function and can have real meetings, every single item should come through here, every single item.
Right, understand.
For things like pressure washing, it'll fall within the sphere of this committee. However, if KW had historically had, the Andrew Johnston company doing it,
Mhm.
there's no suggestion here that we change that, then that will continue. It's just that the bill will go to the district instead of the KW, if that makes any sense. They had to come up with a high water mark.
This is Dean. The part that I think is challenging for us, or will be challenging for us, is to understand, what really is involved with the responsibility to manage these various line items. I can rationalize road sidewalk maintenance and repairs as safety related. I'm not sure that I can rationalize gatehouse supplies and passes as safety related. So I don't know that we're comfortable in deciding when it's time to buy toilet paper for the gatehouse, or order new passes for the gatehouse. That
Well, that's
there
why we
seem,
want you involved.
You're 100% correct, Dean.
Yeah.
This is the
so
detail that we gotta get
Right,
comfortable with.
and
Yeah.
that's one reason, Dean, that I said that I really want Wiser in on these discussions,
yeah,
because they're gonna be part of the process. I mean, you
We're one
probably are
team.
telling somebody else already, so you just might end up telling,
We're one team. We'll
We'll
figure
figure it
out. the
out.
best way to go.
Okay, well, the budget is the budget. It's in the package for the agenda today, so you can see what it is. We have Laura, Jen, did you have a financial person or you the financial person?
I do all of the reimbursements with Rosie, our director of accounting, and Laura. The three of us
Okay.
work through them.
So for this team, are you gonna be the rep for that, or do you need Rosie here?
No, Rosie's in Miami.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So basically, it's Laura, Jen-
I'd love to have Rosie here because I'm not an accountant.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said, Jen.
Reconvene in Miami with Rosie.
Yeah, seriously, that would be nice.
I'll be at that
Um,
meeting.
Okay, if nobody has any objection, I'll continue doing this for the safety and security group and be the rep on that team. And then from Wiser, would that be Mark?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, we can do this on the side because we only have one safety and security person on here. So maybe what we can do, we don't have Laura though. Maybe we can come up with a couple of dates before we leave. After we adjourn, we can come up with a couple dates and we can,
Myself and Maggie. Sorry, you haven't finished.
oh, that's okay. And me,
And or
okay.
Kim.
So are you one of our branch managers?
I'm the operations manager.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
That's wonderful, yeah, okay. So we'll get some discussions going on in the next week or so.
Yep.
And see if we can just draw out who's doing what to whom and then have the discussion. Okay,
And this is Bob again, big picture looking at this thing. As you're talking about the task items, like pressure washing, a slippery sidewalk.
Mhm.
One of the changes that is occurring budget wise is there is a resource now within the district that someone in this committee could call that person and say, we want this particular sidewalk pressure washed. And you now have a full-time guy over there that could come and do it.
nice.
It'll be evolutionary, not revolutionary.
Mm.
Right now, they may not have pressure washing equipment. I don't know. And maybe that we have to buy it and we'll have it then forever. It may be that it's more efficient to continue using ABC company to do it. But these are the kinds of nitty-gritty decisions that you'll be able to have impact on and hopefully save the community some money. That's why we're
Nice.
volunteers doing this, is trying to save our residents money and get it done more efficient.
Sounds good.
Just
Randy Bottleton. So, I agree with what you're saying. Except now that we're gonna have to reconcile who takes responsibility for that and who's paying for it. Much of this kind of things were done by Castle in the past. They were considered routine maintenance type issues and budgets were built into that
Absolutely.
accordingly on an O and M agreement.
Correct.
Now, I don't know where that's all gonna stand now, because it seems to be a new item. But that's what I'm talking about in terms of accepting all the responsibility for this type of stuff that used to be considered maintenance. And there was a historical usage of accepted vendors and things of that nature. We had history about what it cost in the past so that we can make,
Good
factor that
comparison.
into our budgets and things like that. So much of what I'm concerned about is that a whole bunch of responsibility has been pushed onto this committee where they don't have the information we've had in the past or the expertise to do some of that type of stuff.
And the intent was never to dump it all on this committee per se. But again, just for purposes of discussion, talking about the sidewalk pressure washing. It kind of seems like a safety issue, but it doesn't have to be. It could be with one of our other subcommittees like landscaping, if they're gonna have the pressure washer people here and cleaning monuments. It might just be a natural evolution that they would do the sidewalk. But this is the kind of discussion that should and can be held
Right,
between safety and security and your other two companion
right.
subcommittees. And where it ends up, I don't know, but it'll show up in somebody's radar. Nothing's gonna be jammed down anybody's throat. If there's something that is totally beyond the bailiwick and not, then it may become a district thing. So,
Yeah, we have, this is Jen, we have the P-PAC meeting this afternoon too, so we don't know the outcome of that as well.
correct.
Okay. And Rand, just to, and this is Jennifer again, this is a part of the list that Jen put together of all the items that they've been doing. And that they,
I have,
you had that, okay.
I've got it.
Oh, there's-
Page.
Well,
There
yeah,
were two pages.
yeah, well, it's in here.
You shared that with me.
I was hoping to have my technology, so I'm a little discombobulated, but yeah, this is part of the list. So those items are included here. So we'll be sure to talk through them. This is the list I was talking about that we'll use to get started with our discussions. So we know,
Assuming this is the O and M agreement is going to remain somewhat similar to what it is, because we're giving a big chunk of money to have this stuff taken care of.
I don't know where the O and M agreement will end up, but I do know that it has gone from a 1.5 million annual budget to something under 30,000 without the management fee. And how that's gonna be reflected in the O and M is a TBD. But the O and M has to be updated. There's no two ways about that. There are revisions that'll be discussed this afternoon. I don't know where those discussions will come up.
Is it expiring?
No, but it must be updated for October 1st.
Why does it have to be updated now?
Because the safety and security and the landscape functions were part of the old O and M. And now they are a district function. So the old O and M specifically gave,
Because of this change in the budget?
well, because of landscape, and well, that's part of it, because of everything. It's been a 2-year process, and it was a deliberate, no change to the O and M. Now, a year ago, if you recall, in the O and M, there was discussion that once landscape left, that the 96,000, 93,000 would be reduced. We couldn't nail down the members of PPCA to give us a dollar amount of that reduction,
Which they never did.
and they never did. That's right. And it's still 93,
In
90.
fact, never voted to make landscape.
Yes, they did.
I said, no, they didn't.
Absolutely did. I could show you the minutes. where-
Well, you show it to me, because I want to see that.
So there was a transition a year ago that did that, and at the time that it was done, it was stated that landscape would be first. And
We
so
voted,
it's-
we voted on a contract. We voted on the landscape contract. That's what we
No,
voted.
no, that's totally different. That was just a contract between the Ameriscape and, but I will satisfy your answer, but yes, it was done with the full knowledge that this year, or the 24 calendar year, that safety and security would follow the same way, and they did. And that will require, it should have required last year a change, but nobody wanted to get into that, but we have
There was never, keeps authorized that
authorized one.
move outside of the O and M agreement to.
There was a decision and a vote in PPAC to take the funds away from Castle at the time and moved them to the district last year. That was an absolute vote of people.
Has there been a, this is Jen with KW, has there been a vote yet though for safety and security work group to?
Yes, that's been done too.
When was that done?
I'd have to look at the minutes, but 2 or 3 meetings ago.
Okay.
Okay, anything else on this? Okay. Next thing on the item was actually the proposed draft budget. We talked a little bit about that just now. If you want, take a look, it's in your package. If you have any questions or comments, as you heard, we can't necessarily change it at this point, but,
You can only lower it, you can't increase. it.
right. But if there are any questions or anybody has any discussion or additional discussion,
And the final budget, I think, is August 18th. That's ring a bell with you?
17th or 18th.
So there'll be more budget discussions by both PPAC and by the board,
okay,
and we will end up with a budget adoption, I believe in August, could be September, and that's what our tax bills will be based on. So again, you have the high water mark, can't be lowered, can't be raised.
17th is the public hearing.
Is that August? August.
okay, thank you. All right, then let's move on to the next agenda item, which is wiser post orders. Okay, in your package, you received, well, let me back up. We've been working on this for a while, and I think we had everything pretty much settled except the portion for the gate access. And that was just because it was really long, there was some duplication, there was some confusion in terms of, well, let's just be honest, contradictory type things within it. So what we've done is we have a draft that's been circulated with what I'm hoping is a more consolidated, straightforward approach. I've asked for comments. I haven't received any. I don't know whether that's because everybody was okay with this or whether it was because people haven't had an opportunity to look at it. I don't know. But what I'd like to try to do is put this to bed so that we can go and put together a final draft of the post orders that we can then get through for approval. So I know we can't vote on anything, and I don't know if this is a fair question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Does anyone have any comments on this? I don't, like I said, I'd asked for comments to be sent in so I could get things all drafted up ahead of time, but did anyone have any comments on this that they'd like to provide? Or are we ready right now just to say, okay, we're going to take this for the meeting on hopefully the 5th or 6th, or whatever the date, 6th, and try to approve it so we can move forward to the next step?
This is Bob, I don't have a comment, I have a question though. The PPCA has been involved in the process. Okay. Just so it's a collaborative process.
I think they've been involved. They've been at meetings.
I don't know who would have been. It was just district. Laura's been involved.
Yeah,
George has been involved, but I don't know that anybody with.
Jen, anybody in your organization involved?
Wiser, myself.
So you have been
Oh,
involved in
okay.
it?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, we did a lot.
Oh,
We
We've
actually had a
had several
workshop.
meetings.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been like 3 or 4 meetings we've tried to go.
Okay.
Yeah,
well,
including a whole workshop,
Yeah.
so,
Keith
yeah.
Riddle when he was here.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is okay to go forward with?
I did.
Yep.
Did we include verbiage about that emergency road?
No,
I don't believe so, because I don't think that that's part of safety and security.
Because that's strictly gonna be controlled by Gateway.
Right,
They-
it wasn't part of the post order,
Okay.
so we didn't put anything
So
in there.
didn't feel it was necessary to address that.
Well, I don't think we're, it's not part of the contract.
Mark with
with-
Wiser, no, we did, it's been.
Yeah.
past-
Okay.
No, since they've had it gated and established with everything out there, we've had nothing to do. They keep it very
Yeah.
well.
We,
They keep the
I'm
gate
sorry.
shut. I do check it every time I go down Proud of. I make that just to make sure it's shut.
Yeah,
They do a great job.
what we really did was we looked at the actual contract between the GSCDD and Wiser, and that's what we based it off of. And since they don't have any role in it, really,
Not really.
And the,
It was just, I think it was brought up by Bill
Same thing.
Sirico, who thought it might make sense to have something in that. But, since we,
Yeah, I understand.
they won't, district won't give any kind of control for that gate.
To anybody,
Anyone in Pelican Reserve.
We
Exactly.
did, that was
Oh.
part of our tour in the past.
Okay.
It was
yeah.
a marketing for it.
so the patrol does observe that it's closed.
Mark would wiser. Personally, I do. As of right now, we are controlled of just the main roads. As well as discussions have come. I do have some people just speaking off the cuff. Again, this is Mark. I have some people that do like to see my vehicle. I work 7 to 3, which is not 7 to 3, it's usually 4 to whenever. But they'd like to see me just a wave.
But to
Elderly,
Randy's point, the post office
Yes.
should say, my and Nichols' words should say,
if you would
to
like.
observe that gate is, that it's closed. Long. It's
Um,
not then.
I understand what you're saying, but in the contract, I do not believe there's anything in there that says that they're supposed to do that.
You know,
I think it's appropriate that it would.
Okay, well, then
Have
it
them
would
at
be
least
it would
look at it.
update. It would just then need to be in the contract, and I don't know
Yeah, no,
what the
I'm,
implication is of
I'm
that.
fine with you leaving it out if it's not included to begin with. Just wondered if there had been any
Right.
change to that.
Well,
But then you said-
No.
The contract is different than the postal. I thought we were talking postal. I think.
We are
postal
talking post orders.
Should reflect. I think. It's what I-
This is my question is this. If we have another hurricane, or we have some kind of a major disaster in the front of the entrance, our only egress and egress
Right.
from the
Yeah.
community, who is going to call the district and say, we need somebody to open this gate?
I think Laura said all they had to do was put
Would
it,
would that be Jen? We can call Jen?
yeah, I don't know. I think
Well,
Laura
that-
said it was just a matter of calling the 24/7,
Yeah.
customer service line, and somebody would come out immediately.
This is Dean. Is the signage in place at on the Prado side of the gate to contact Gateway if there's an emergency?
I don't
This
think
is
there's
Danny.
a
There's
sign
no
there.
signage there whatsoever.
Yeah, that's good.
So,
Okay, so
this is
nobody
Andrew-
knows anything, right?
Well,
The public
This is
doesn't
Andrew
know
from,
anything.
This is Andrew from Gateway. I was tasked with ordering signs for those gates.
Yeah.
And as of Friday, I just approved language on those, so those should be underway.
Yeah.
There will be signs installed on both those gates.
What is the language? This is Danny.
Just to call for after hours emergency access, call.
Thank you.
The customer
X,
service.
yeah.
Okay.
And this is also covered in the PERT
Mhm.
That's another one.
group.
It just
I'm a
strikes me
member of
that
PERT too.
the post orders ought to have a statement to the effect that the emergency gate is controlled by Gateway Services. Call this number, you know, if there's a need to activate the gate. Somebody in the gatehouse needs to know to call Gateway.
Well, and that
They
is
can't-
covered
they don't
under
have to drive
procedure.
out there.
96-hour protocol. on
This is Bob again, Dean, when they vacate the premises for safety, that's when the PERT team kicks in and Gateway's completely involved in that process along with
Yeah.
PERT.
Bob, I understand that, but there could be any number of incidences that require that gate to be opened. And
Yeah.
you know, a bulletin of a statement, something posted within the
Okay, I think
gatehouse.
that's
This is Mark
reasonable.
Wiser. Once that's established and Andrew has that number up, we'll post that in the gatehouse for all the, guards to know.
Okay.
That
Thank
number under any emergency.
Okay,
Thank you, Mark.
You got it.
okay, all right.
The last comment on coast orders has
Yeah.
the responsibilities, if any, of Wiser for functions either at the town center and or the vehicle storage lot. Have they been
They have no functions at this time.
at this,
At those-
so that has been
That's
addressed.
something, it has been addressed and it's
Thank
something
you.
that KW is working
Thank
on. Okay. Okay, well then, we will have a vote. Let me ask one more question. No, I mean, I was gonna get to that. I know we can't vote now. I was gonna, I stopped my sentence to say, to ask actually a question. I think it would be helpful to have a complete document a draft document. And, I think, I'm not sure, Georgia, were you the one who was consolidating all these comments? For the
I
post
am-
orders?
I don't believe so.
Who creates the minutes?
Marilyn with Infomark.
Infomark does.
Oh, Infomark. Okay, because maybe I can work with you offline, Georgia, to get to Marilyn or to whomever, so that we can have a nice draft of the post orders that we can include in the minute, in the agenda package for our next meeting.
Yeah, that would be me. I can help you
Okay.
with that because Marilyn just is assigned the minutes.
Okay, so I will contact you offline and we'll get all this stuff, set up.
Okay,
So wasn't Laura doing some of that when she was here at previous meetings?
She was putting in some of the comments that we put in, during the meetings, but that has been sent out. I don't know that she was then taking what we just discussed and consolidating it in. And that was the last step. So I just want to make sure we had that last step in there, and then maybe a draft without all of the, edits. You know, how you see the edit, who said what to whom. If we can get rid of that, so it's really easy to read, and it's, this is the draft in its final form, that we can discuss that. Okay.
This Bob, Mr. Crawford said he's available for July 5th,
Yes,
anytime
he said.
after 11 a.m.
Okay,
It's not available on the fifth. It's available on the
Maybe
sixth.
it's someplace else, whatever.
Sixth is available for here,
Thursday.
10 a.m. Into the sixth.
are you available, Danny?
Here again. This room.
This room, yep. If people complain about.
So we'll change it.
The gate.
If you're available,
John's gonna spare one.
Well, if you wanted to keep it on the 5th, you could do whatever the difference.
okay.
Right, that-
I'd be okay, just so that we don't have to go into so many changes, people get confused.
Yeah.
That's right. So if you want to keep it on the 5th, then we can see if there's an office available at the district. If you want to move to the 6th to stay here, then you got to move the day.
I'm good for the 6th.
I'm okay with 6. Can you check with Ms. Copper?
Right? After 11.
That's good for the 5th.
Oh, it's 5th, I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay.
One quorum, we gotta meet that.
Right, that's why we need to ask.
And that's,
Okay.
that's
Moving right
Wednesday,
along here.
Wednesday,
sorry?
July 5.
I didn't hear the question, I'm sorry.
Wednesday, July 5.
Yeah, no, we can,
Yeah.
can you do the sixth?
Oh, the next day. That's why I was asking. Wednesday, or
Yeah, the
okay,
sixth,
Thursday,
same room. Here.
10 o'clock, yeah.
If it's not available, we won't have the quorum, we can't vote again.
Well, we're checking that right now, so let's see what we
Needs
have,
available.
and if worse comes to worse, we'll just have to go over to the district. Possibly. All right. Moving right along. There we go.
I was not able to reach him, but I will.
Okay, we'll be here for a little bit longer, I think.
Well, we have a big pack meeting at lunch.
Okay, well then, we are going to be done by noon. Yeah, sure, feel free. Okay, next is the traffic study program status. This hopefully shouldn't be too long. We have put together, the priority, oh, you wanted to sit for this?
Well, I don't.
We
yeah,
can- we
Jen,
can-
You
It'll be.
have some of this? Go ahead.
It'll be fast, I
Okay.
think. Our priority really was to get the study completed at Veneto and Vicenza. And we've had some ups and downs because we've had battery problems and more battery problems. And between Jen and Mark, they've done yeoman's work in working with, the company to try to get that situation resolved, but
It's like $400 for 2 batteries and a new charger. So we're down to 1 charging cord.
Yeah.
And the batteries seem to not wanting to charge. So I've touched base with Traffic Cloud. But I think $385 for 2 batteries and a charger is pretty expensive. So Danny and I actually were trying to research.
This is Mark with Wiser. I don't know how far you guys got, but any solar out there?
That's a whole
Is it
nother expense that I
different?
don't think we
I
want to go
didn't,
down.
I didn't know.
I
was
have to
just
check on the
curious.
amperage of, this is Danny, I have to look at the required amperage and volts that we can need for that. It may be doable, but it entails a very heavy battery, so that creates another issue on the OSHA by having someone lifting up a battery. But there are other options that I'm looking at, because I'm looking at solar for another device, but I will be doing more research on that and the availability of those batteries and possibly rewiring that charger. I have the capability of
Oh,
trying
okay.
to finagle it,
Okay.
as long as the outside piece is usable. If I can get into it to see where the problem is, maybe
Okay.
a frayed wire somewhere.
Okay.
But I'm looking further into it on the mechanical side and try and resolve that issue. The batteries are super, super expensive. I have outlets through my other business with batteries from different countries. But that particular system is unique in its own way. But there are alternatives that I'm looking at, but I need to actually have that machine, that device. So I'm gonna be pulling it, being it's not, we can only use it for a little bit of time, use one way. Cut down the traffic study one way, just reverse the signs until I can evaluate the system itself.
Well, both sides are down now. I mean,
Yeah, they're in
down,
the
down.
rover vehicle. I just took it
Yeah.
down this morning. I was going to start over to, the next location. It's the other side of the community, but you want one of them? Okay.
But just leave one in the guardhouse,
Got it.
and I want to take a much better in-depth look at the inside. But yeah, if you can charge up to one unit, and we could just do the traffic study on the one side of and then flip it over, a little more work to do, but we can alternate days and times that you need it to be done to coordinate the traffic flow.
Okay, that sounds good. We own those batteries, right?
Mhm.
Okay, are they under any kind of warranty or anything?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, then there's no problem with you.
No, there's no warranty.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Well, that's the net out of it. I do have some data, but it's only for 17 days. And it's like a mishmash of timeframes because we've had these challenges. So anyway, we have the schedule. We just keep pushing it out and pushing it out. And we'll do the best we can with the technology we have.
And I just,
anyway,
this is
thank
Dan
you.
again, you have
Yes.
it's just, enlighten, what is the purpose of the traffic study that we're involved in this?
We use this data for a whole bunch of different things. For one, what we did out here, our first party with Veneto and Vicenza is we had a baseline in terms of what the speed was going past that intersection. So we could demonstrate that there actually was a problem. And then after the calming devices were put in, we were able to demonstrate that it actually worked. And as time goes by, we can see that because people are doing some very interesting things to get around them, that the speed
It was nice, but
Yeah.
there, and some of them are incredibly dangerous. It's kind of scary sometimes. But anyway, we can see that the speeds are starting to creep back up. So it gives us really, people will say in many areas, we've got speeding on our roads. You've got to do something about it. We go out and we measure it and it's really not that bad. Yes, there's people who speed, but there aren't enough speeders that we could do anything about it. But we were able to prove out here that there were enough speeders and that it was a problem. So it's basically giving us really, it's data to prove or disprove people's hypotheses in terms of what's happening with the traffic.
Okay, but in response to that, it has no other function other than
Oh,
data analysis.
Well,
Let me, can I?
yeah,
address
go ahead,
something?
sure.
Jennifer is able to mine a lot of data
Yeah.
from this software package. And one in particular was illumination on Cypress Grove and Pelican Reserve Boulevard. It was pretty easy to say this is a dark intersection, but Jennifer provided us with data that was timestamped, that read every vehicle that was noted. Could be a bicycle, could be a golf cart, but every vehicle. And when she started looking at from 7 p.m. in the evening until 7 at night, and in some cases over a 3-month period, sometimes we'd have 3 vehicles on average. So while we could make an argument that this is a dark intersection, need to get more illumination, harder to make the argument that it's a safety issue. If you've got 3
Right.
cars, you've got no traffic, there's no safety.
we're not gonna collide.
Right, it's,
Right.
so anyway, that, it's a whole different way of looking at it. But from a
Right.
safety and security standpoint, it makes a lot of sense. Then we make a value judgment that, yeah, we're gonna illuminate it, but we're not gonna spend $63,000 for 3 big tall lights and, you know, according to what a recommendation was given to us.
Okay, I understand the traffic flow, but it's not, we do the speed analysis on that thing. It's unenforceable.
It's not meant for enforcement per se, not from a, because even if we can get pictures and we do get pictures, it's from the front of the car. There's no identification there. So there's nothing, we don't use it to like if you're driving down the road and they say, oh, photo and,
You ran a light.
yeah. We don't use it for that. It's just for aggregate data.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then-
Nothing goes to the police department
well,
or
they
anybody
can't
else.
do it anyway.
And,
Yeah.
and Jennifer, don't you have 85% confidence in the average speed that you get?
Mhm.
You know, which to me
Well-
says that a big majority of people are following the rules. We've got those
Yeah.
outliers and, you know, miscreants who are gonna speed, you know, but.
Mark,
You overwhelming.
Mark was wiser. That was the phone call I just got. 2 residents just got after each other for a woman going 40 exiting, and the gentleman peeled out in front of her and got out of the vehicle and told her all about herself.
That's something, this is Danny again. That's
I'm
something
sorry
I
to hear
think
that.
It needs to be
Yeah,
communicated community-wide. Residents should not get involved with other residents violating traffic rules.
wow,
Because it creates a bigger problem
right,
than it's worth.
right,
We're not the law, I'm former law enforcement, former corporate security. I had the authority to enforce.
right.
I don't have it here,
Well-
nor will I do it. Somebody wants to be stupid, that's their issue. They get into an accident, but other residents are taking it personal. They're following residents to their home and they're arguing with them, just like Mark just mentioned, that
Figure out
you
about the
can't, you
light.
went through that stop sign, you did this. So I would ask if we can do a communication, and we can't vote on it now, out to the residents. If there is an issue about somebody doing, let us know as part of the committee, and I can relay that to law enforcement and time and date. So I can develop a time frame that a lot of these violations or alleged violations are being committed for them to follow up at that particular location, whether it be the front gate, where they can't do speeding. So we can't address speeding unless it's egregious.
I didn't follow what you were getting involved with. It's not getting involved with between somebody's having a problem and they call you,
No. Notification.
that there
to-
was,
That there's an issue. Somebody
so like
spotted
this sort of
somebody
thing you would get notified of.
Right.
Okay, I'm okay with
Yeah.
that. I
because.
thought you were trying to say people would call you and it's like,
No,
don't get in the middle of.
Official notification of an issue, just like they would call the guardhouse. That's it.
Yeah, okay,
But it needs to go somewhere else. We need to know as part of this
Well-
committee, safety and security, that there is an issue that's arising and where it is. Otherwise,
No citizen arrest and. because they're-
no
okay.
citizens arrest, no weapons in the town.
You guys good with that?
They do follow. Mark was wiser.
But we don't want, again, this is Daniel, we don't want Wiser getting involved in.
Sure.
No,
an
and in
issue
fact,
with
that-
the residents.
nothing has gone,
I mean, the security in your name isn't really what we have you for here. It's more
right,
paid
and
access.
that has gone out. We don't want to do it again, but it's pretty much, if you have a problem, you call the police department.
Right.
Absolutely.
If things work that way, Wiser may never know about it. I mean, you might, because the police will be coming in and out and they might mention something, but Nirvana, in my opinion, is you guys don't even know what's happening. Somebody calls the police department and, okay. I just want to make sure we're not introducing us into something. All right,
Jennifer?
yes,
Hi, it's Dean again. Just a
Mhm.
quick one to add to your comment about the traffic studies, the
Yeah.
speed monitoring study. One other element that we could do and we considered doing was community-wide data collection to determine 85th percentile speeds as to whether or not there should be a recommendation to increase the speed limits in the community
right.
to something that was enforceable. Now, I personally think that that's not a wise thing to do, but the data could justify that.
Right, and we had started that about a year or
Right.
so ago, And we
Right.
had a very systemic way we were gonna go through the entire development. And at one point, we decided that we didn't really want to do that.
Yeah, no, I'm
And
just saying this
we-
for Danny's
Right,
benefit.
and I'm kind of looking over at Danny. And in fact, what we did is we consolidated into a few priorities, and that
Yeah.
was the Vicenza Veneto, any projects that we have on our list, any projects on PPAC that they might ask us for. And we've queried the President's Council on a number of occasions. And in fact, we got a request from one of the presidents to do a study at at one of their locations. So it's more going to be reactive from the community and proactive from any projects that we have going.
Mr. Grandy, I recall one of those studies where, in the neighborhoods where it's 15 miles an hour, we generally had around 20 miles an hour.
Yeah.
On Prado, where it's 25, we generally had people driving 20 miles an hour. It was like they weren't deliberately trying to speed, but 15 miles an hour is hard to hold your vehicle.
Yeah.
It is.
Any.
Yeah,
motor vehicle.
and because of the data mining capability that we have, we can give lots of statistics in terms of how many, what the highest, lowest, what the different percentiles are. So,
And
Yeah,
50
people
50%
speed, but-
of golf carts exceed that 15 miles an hour. I got an old golf cart, I go 19 miles an hour, so,
yeah. Okay,
okay.
one more and then we're gonna move on.
Yeah, Mark Weiser, the only
got
speed,
time
that I noticed, and I've noticed it from, now 3 years, is the Pistoia, 25 miles an hour. It's hard to maintain 25 miles an
Yeah.
hour without being on your tips and,
Yeah.
each side going through Pistoia if you maintain that. There's a good sharp turn in there, and obviously there's a turnaround, but that going 25, maybe that works for that area, but it's hard to keep that miles per hour, and I've mentioned that.
Mhm.
And they said it takes a long time maybe to get that established as far as the speed limit change, but
Yeah,
that's the
So,
only location that I see
yeah.
it maybe a little too high.
okay, we're gonna move on because we only have a few more minutes before we have to adjourn because there's another meeting this afternoon. Review the Veneto traffic calming final memorandum, which was in our package. I think that's a Dean item.
Okay. This is Dean again, thank you. Back in, what's the date? May 5th. Florida Transportation submitted its final memorandum to us regarding the Veneto and Vicenza traffic calming concept design study that they had conducted. You'll recall that, well, how could you forget? Several years ago, we put rumble strips out, and as Jennifer was speaking of recently, there are a number of motorists on golf carts in particular who avoid the rumble strips by driving around them, going into the opposing lane of traffic and cutting back in before they get hit head on. And the residents that are in Vicenza clearly are not happy with the rumble strips because of the noise that they create. We tried to come up with some ideas, and then it was decided earlier this year to engage Florida Transportation to come up with some concepts for traffic calming out here that might be feasible and prudent. They came up with several. They gave us a draft memo. We made comments to them. They came back with their revised memo May 5th. And they basically have something with a concept with 3 concrete speed humps on Veneto Drive at a cost of about $42,000. They have a single concrete speed hump with stamped concrete that would be about $27,000 or $28,000. They had a raised asphalt pavement intersection, also known as a speed table, that would be about $31,000. And a version of the speed table that had pavers, brick pavers or stamped asphalt in the middle for about $82,000 to $102,000. So these are big numbers. And two traffic separators, something to make the roadway a little narrower, that would cost about $10,000. And we didn't really like the high price versions. The concept 1B, a single concrete speed hump at $27,000, I questioned them afterwards as to what it would be for not stamped concrete, not as elaborate a design. And he said the number would be less than $10,000. I got that in an email response from Justin Reck at Florida Transportation. So to our community, I mean, to our committee, it seems to me like we need to put our heads together and either come up with something that we think we should be suggesting to our residents there in Vicenza area. We need to go back to them. We need to include the at least one member of the board of the community association and PPAC to see what sort of updates we should do to the rumble strips. I tend to think that the $10,000 speed hump is a reasonable approach. The speed hump would be located just to the east of Vicenza Drive. It would cross from gutter to gutter, both sides of Veneto. And it would, it would be effective in getting people to slow down, make sure that they don't exceed the speed limit of 15 miles an hour there. But that's about all that seemed to be worth pursuing, I think, in my mind, a $10,000 speed hump. Don't know if anyone had any thoughts about the next steps, but I think that maybe the first step would be to inform PPAC of the results of this study, and then seek guidance to go to the neighborhood again. But I think we are able to rule out several different options and come up with something that is feasible to replace the rumble strips.
Hey, Dean, this is Andrew. Question for you regarding the speed hump. That would also include the removal of the rumble strips.
Oh, yes.
Correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Yep.
It would be only on this side,
I have the diagram.
the other side.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is Randy. I remember seeing this before we had this discussion and talked about it. And I think everybody was of the mind that made sense and to do it at the most cost effective way. Subsequently, after a meeting of the HOA presidents, I was approached by, I can't remember her name, Kay or Kate, perhaps,
With Vicenza, yeah.
Vicenza. Tom Worley, the previous HOA president, passed away the
Right.
last few months. But I think they would be open to having a meeting and discussing this, some of the options. And I think we lay out all the different options that were given to us and the potential costs involved, because many in the community think that this was done for the sole benefit of that Vicenza community of 30 homes. And they need to be on board with us to make some concession, I think. But this seems to be a reasonable item. I believe the PPAC would be behind it. I can't imagine that the community association wouldn't also be in favor of it. They would perhaps have to do something with those rumble strips that are on their property. We couldn't pay for that.
Who put them
But-
up?
That's another issue.
Who put the rumble strips up? Did PPAC put them up?
Yes.
Oh,
Chuck Castle did.
One of the people, the ones east of of Vincenza are on district property, but from, westward to the town center is community association property.
Right.
And a set of those rumble strips are on that.
Right.
So it's a bit of a complicated issue. And in the past, we've been told that we need to have 20 of the 30 homes give us written approval to change, make any kind of a change, because they're the neighborhood most affected. So before we go any further, I
Right.
think the idea is go to them and say, this is what we're looking at now. These were suggestions. And some of these are a non-starter because of the cost. But we think we can authorize this. What do you think?
The 20 and the 30 sounds like a lower number than originally. I was thinking, I heard 80%, but
Yeah.
I'm happy if it is 20 or 30.
Well. What do you mean, cost wise?
No, just vote wise, the approval wise from them. I thought we had to get 80% of them to say that they.
Oh,
accept
I don't.
Two-
remember the
two-thirds.
percentage now. I thought it was 60-some%.
it. If
Yeah, it's
60, that's much-
it's
that's
2/3, Randy.
Two-thirds.
Two-thirds.
Two-thirds, yeah, okay.
This is Danny, I believe we discussed this at a previous
We
meeting,
did.
and we did say we're gonna invite the president of the board of that community to our next meeting before the decision is made. You have to go back to the minutes and verify that, but I remember saying having that in the meeting, one of the meetings, invite them to the next.
Well, and perhaps more in a while, and maybe more than that. I know
Yeah, when we did
Dean
this
and I had a
originally.
meeting with that before with a suggestion
Right.
and a number of their members came.
Okay.
They
We
didn't like our ideas.
Way back when, we ended up having I think it was just about every single household. We were in the destination to the patio.
Okay.
It was packed.
Yeah.
So it's
So-
a
It
near
was-
and dear issue.
It's a near and dear issue. So,
This was
Oh,
more
go-
recent than that.
yeah, no, I understand that. I was just saying that if we invite the president, and this is open to the public, don't be surprised if we get quite a few people showing up, which is fine. I'm just saying,
More the merrier.
That's
more the merrier. Okay, so I don't know, there was a suggestion about doing July
But
6th. What I'd like, oh, sorry.
I'm of the opinion that that's where we should start.
Yeah.
If this group believes that suggestion that Dean is making in terms of the one speed hump. And I had some pictures on my phone of one that's similar to that, if anybody
Okay.
wants to see it. I saw one in a community just off of,
Yeah.
that development, the Publix in Lehigh and
Right.
back of State Road
Okay.
82.
And the
Right.
plantation has a really nice one too.
This
Okay.
is going into.
They're all over, they're all over.
Yeah, you can't get the Barber B band without going over.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so, let's put it on, I'd like to suggest maybe the agenda at the end of July versus the 6th, because for the 6th, what I'd like to do is really focus on decision-making.
Yep.
Just here are the items from today's meeting, we're gonna make decisions in and out, nothing's in and out, but as in and out as we can do. And then, because also if we invite them to the 6th, it's a holiday week, they might feel like we're trying to ramrod something down them, give them a little more time so that they can, the public can, have.
Mr. Crawford could make the morning of July 6th.
All right, so our decision-making meeting will be on July 6th at 10 o'clock in this room. And I believe I have captured everything that we're gonna be making a decision on, but I'm gonna go right through it very quickly now. Tell me if I've got anything wrong, and I will get whatever paperwork Georgia needs so that we can get this documented and sent out a week in advance. Under number 5 on the agenda, we are going to approve both minutes, so 5A and B. On number 7, we have A, review the Tetra Tech task authorization bike lane. Now, okay, wait a second. That's a future decision, excuse me. My apologies, because that's the one that we're gonna get the FTE on.
Correct.
So I do not think we had any decisions to be made under 7. Under 8, we had C, wiser post orders. Did I miss anything in terms of decisions that we need to vote on?
My notes,
I'm sorry?
nothing. You missed-
Okay.
Nothing on mine.
All right, so those are the ones that we're gonna vote on, and Georgia, I'll work with you offline. I'll do whatever paperwork you need so we can get that agenda out. We did have one other item on this agenda, but being very efficient, we discussed it a little bit earlier in the agenda under the 7C, agreement for traffic control with City of Fort Myers. So that was the general status of where we were today with traffic enforcement. I think we have the next meeting agenda. Anything else we need to discuss before we adjourn? Yes, sir.
I wonder if Andrew would just talk to about a project that's in the works right now that's safety related to a sidewalk. Sure. Between Battery Drive and Solera.
Yeah, and I can have a topic for the July 6th meeting if you'd like to hear about it then, or I can brief you about it now. But basically, we have a safety concern on one of the sidewalks that Randy Bottleson brought up as an issue. We've got water holding on the sidewalk.
Oh, yeah.
And it's creating algae growth on the sidewalk. So a simple solution is to create a concrete flume or a water exit off that sidewalk into the gutter. Jen and I got with a concrete vendor already and got quotes put together for that. I've approved those quotes so we can get some action rolling and get that water off the sidewalk. So
Like putting a funnel.
yeah, essentially a water funnel into the gutter system. There's been similar things done throughout the community with pavers. Also similar things done in the Stony Brook community with concrete. I think concrete is the best solution for this particular area because it's a main thoroughfare. Like having a pavers in that area wouldn't quite fit right. So. I believe
What
it's-
is that single concrete installation cost?
So, yeah, so we're looking at $2,500, but that also includes 2 areas of the sidewalk that are depressed. And also holding water in the area. So that's breaking out those 2 areas and then adding this new area of concrete.
Is there any, looking into regrading that area to keep the water from getting up that high? I mean, I live there, so I know. But
Yeah, well, a lot
it's
of,
not properly graded, it's causing the back.
yeah, well, it's getting held in by the grass, essentially, the turf. So eventually you're gonna have that issue occur again, even if you were to take all that grass out, regrade it, lower it, it will keep for, quite a while, but essentially you have a pretty low spot in a long distance that funnels right to that area.
This is Randy. I took a picture of this just after a pretty substantial rainfall. And these concrete sections are 5 feet by 5 feet square. 13 of them were covered by water, so 65 feet of water in this one particular area. So wow. It, in rainy season, that's what it looks like. People have to walk out in the road. And even during the dry season, we will get, we'll get water holding there just from irrigation. It drains faster, it cleans up faster, but rainy season, we have this often.
Had this group been up and functioning, this is Bob, back when Lennar was turning this over, we'd have made him fix
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but we're not.
with irrigation, it definitely be readjusted back into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this type of a condition is being addressed by Prado right now. We have district support on making. We won't release the bond until they fix it. This is a current topic. Won't cover this area. We're helping Prado.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, thank you all very much. Look forward to our meeting on the 6th, and we are officially adjourned at 12 noon.
Well done.
Thank you, everyone.